Right, so we're a few minutes now after the news announcements for the euros, so let's begin. We're on the daily chart, we have EU on the top, DXY on the bottom. What's the daily showing us? Yesterday you can see we was bearish obviously, and we have swept the sell side liquidity from below that leg, that previous low. So that's a major point of sell side liquidity in my opinion. Alright, and beneath that is an imbalance, right? So it's partially filled that imbalance. Obviously we may have more room to go if price wishes to fill this area here. However, after yesterday's sweep of sell side liquidity, we may see a bullish reaction today. Yesterday's candle closed out above this low as well from that sell side liquidity. So we'll see if we get any further pullbacks from there. Now other than that, DXY as well went deeper into this zone here and took buy side liquidity above these daily highs. However, from this high here to our lower high currently yesterday, we have SMC divergence because we have, well, this low around here and even this low to a lower low. So that's possibly going to show signs of future DXY weakness. For how long for, or if it's just for one day, we'll see. But at the moment, SMC indicating weakness. Let's go down to the 4 hour. So on the 4 hour here, structure's clearly still bearish and still bullish on DXY. One thing to note is we have now entered a 4 hour POI today. So the leg itself may be larger than this, but we have a very obvious 4 hour order block with imbalance, which price has crept back to overnight. And now even with news, we're still currently respecting it. So we'll see where price goes with that. And this would be where I'm going to look for our first possible area of resistance to maybe continue our bearish trend. Right, see if it gives us that bias to continue short. As I mentioned, we took a lot of sell side liquidity, so this may or may not hold. We may even head for the buy side liquidity above the previous daily high, or start coming up to close these gaps here if that's what price wishes to do to go bullish. Okay, but at the moment still bearish, so we can slightly lean towards a bearish bias if price plays out that way. Now on news, we may have taken a lot of sell side liquidity, as you can see already from this sort of trend line here. So price may actually just seek out some buy side liquidity. We'll see that a bit more clear on the lower time frame as well. We'll have to be patient today with a lot of news announcements, right? So we may not have time to actually get any entries. On DXY here, we've also sort of filled this imbalance. We have a bit more room to go as well. I'm not sure if this is accurate because the 4 hour sometimes isn't live. So we'll see what the 1 hour shows to see if we filled this area as well. Let's go down to the 1 hour. So here on the 1 hour, we can see our legs a lot more clearly, right? We have a bit more of a clearer bearish leg here from this high to this low. This leg here is all mitigated for POIs. So at the moment, it's just this imbalance with order block, which is also a 4 hour order block as well. So as you can see, the 1 hour order block, the last candle, is a lot higher up. So we may mitigate further into this 4 hour order block here and fill this imbalance and possibly into this order block. We may respect that. Okay, so that's where I'll look for price to break down to possibly continue going lower. Now, as I said on news, price wicked down because I think the French PMI was bad numbers. So we wicked down, mitigated this area here, filled this imbalance, took all that liquidity, right, respected this order block. And then the German news was positive numbers. So now we've come back up bullish, mitigated the 4 hour order block, but we still have more room to go if we wish to fill this imbalance or come up to the 1 hour order block as well. All right, buy side liquidity resting just above, so I'd want to see this area hold and then start to break down. I don't want to set any orders presuming anything. DXY is still correctively pulling back towards its 1 hour POI and imbalance, so we'll see if we mitigate that or go any lower. We may respect this area here, and we could even sweep this area here, have some SMC divergence indicating some strength. I don't want to predict what's going to happen, but that's a possible future scenario, so we'll see. Alright, so bullish leg, pulling back down towards a POI here. We can see that DXY is very bearish at the moment, so we'll see what we do in this area once we fill this gap, and also once EU fills this gap here. If it takes extra buy side liquidity, we can still have a bearish bias. It doesn't matter as long as we have a good closeout. I won't want to trade long once we're in these zones or have taken that buy side liquidity. So I'm waiting patiently for something like that. So let's go down to the M15 and draw this out. So preferably what I want to see here on the M15 now, because we've had such big wicks from the news, right? It's not going to be easy to break this structure. So however price comes up into this area, right, I'd want to see something like this, maybe mitigate this zone here, sweep that internal high that would be created if we come up correctively, and then if we respect this zone or even take the buy side liquidity, as long as this zone is respected or that happens, and then we break structure, so break structure around here, pull back up to our lower time frame order block with imbalance, right, from the momentum from this liquidity or this liquidity, okay, and then we can trade back down towards our lows, towards our discount. We still kind of have a trend line here with this sell side liquidity, sell side liquidity, sell side liquidity. So if something like this does happen where we break structure around this area here, right, and then pull back up to our imbalance and order block there, set our order to go short, stop loss just above those highs there, targeting wherever you target. Mine would be 3%. We'd have that possible corrective pullback giving us inducement there, and we'd also have buy side liquidity possibly from sweeping one of our internal highs or even the previous daily high before we break down, right? So as I said, this could just factor in and happen up here, right? There's nothing wrong with this either. That's enough on EU. Let's move on. So we have GU here. Now GU is obviously going to have some similarities to EU. So what's the daily showing us here? Well, we had bearish engulfing previous day. We have this imbalance, right, on the daily time frame. We are bearish, okay? We may want to continue further down with that bearish trend and fill this gap here at least, right? Everywhere else seems mitigated here, so this may be a major point of support, little order block behind it, right? But then that massive imbalance there which needs to be filled a bit more. Obviously it's related to the index here because it is a USD pair, but it's not as correlated as EU, so it doesn't matter if things don't line up the exact same way. This morning, however, it's very bullish. Of course, that news didn't affect it. We haven't taken the previous daily low, so let's go down to the lower time frames now and see what that looks like for its structure and day trades. So same as EU, in terms of structure, it is bearish, right? Lower highs, lower lows, lower highs, lower lows. That is continuing. We've pulled back. We're fairly aggressively bullish in these last few hours here, right? And we are into, I guess, a premium of what could be a leg here, a bearish leg. You can see we swept buy side liquidity above these candle highs, broke down very bearish, creating a new low below this low here. All of these areas here look mitigated to me, right? So we may need to see if there's a lower time frame point of resistance. That's going to keep it within this leg possibly, so maybe on the 1 hour. So the 4 hours recent candle has bullish momentum, but again, we are in a bearish trend. While DXY is pulling back until it finds its feet, GU is going to be bullish as well. So we'll see what that looks like on the lower time frame here for GU, but we should be now into a premium of this 4 hour and 1 hour leg now. So we're just looking for to go with possibly this bearish structure, some resistance to break down from. So let's go down to the 1 hour. Right, so here on the 1 hour, we're in a similar place as you can imagine with EU. We have that bearish leg, right? Whether you count it from this high or this high, it's not important. We're into the premium now. We have a nice imbalance here, which we've filled now, where, well, we're on our way to filling with an order block, I would say, worth noting here, because after this price went down and made that lower low. So this zone we're in now, I'd be keeping my eye out to see if price starts to create structure, as I was mentioning on EU, to continue breaking down from, right, to go towards a weak low if we respect this area here. Now I need to see something similar to this maybe, where price made this low, made this high, made this higher low and pulled back. So it'd be nice if we create some sort of structure here, maybe on the M15, doing the same thing to break down from. And obviously here on DXY, we still have that POY we're waiting for to mitigate, to see if we see this as support. And then while we're mitigating this or taking sell side liquidity maybe below here, we're waiting for this to respect this area. Those two are correlating somewhat at the moment. We just need to wait for more on the M15. So let's go down there, show what that would look like. So a bit of repeat of what I need to see on EU, right? I want to see price just, even if it does this, create some structure. I don't know how high it's going to go, what it's going to do, right? But if it creates structure, takes some buy side liquidity or enough of it, and then breaks off structure here, right, we get some momentum after taking some internal buy side liquidity, and then we can pull back to our POI here, order block with imbalance, to continue our shorts possibly. Now this may be a tighter range, it may look something like this, and then we spike up and take those highs, right, for some buy side liquidity. Doesn't really matter. We may pull back further into this zone, but as long as some shape like this sort of forms, okay, and then we get our momentum, leaving behind the order block with imbalance, where we break structure from there, okay, and then we have some possible corrective pullback, leaving inducement maybe, and we set our order just above that at our order block, stop loss just above the high, trading towards a discount, towards those possible weak lows, right, further down into this leg here. This would be something that I'm looking for, external leg, lower high, right, internally making structure and then breaking structure to go towards what would be a weak low, possibly having the support of DXY or sell side liquidity from it, and the resistance here from this POI on GU. Okay, so I hope that's clear. So let's move on again. Right, to look at another USD correlated pair, we've got AU here. So we're on the daily. What is this daily showing us? Another bearish day yesterday, of course, because we had a bullish DXY day. We've now swept a low, just like we have on EU, right, taken that sell side liquidity, closed above it, right? So we have sell side liquidity from a previous low, right? This was a low that created a high as well, so major liquidity in my opinion, okay, and that may drive price to possibly go bullish. So far today we are bullish, so let's go down, let's see what the lower time frames look like. Right, we have a nice clear bearish structure here on AU, right, lower high, lower low, lower high, lower low, okay, still creating lower lows. And we have this 4-hour POI here. It swept some internal buy side liquidity before this breakdown, creating a new low. We're pulling back towards this zone now, right? So I'll see this as our possible resistance to continue going lower. So that looks good to possibly continue this trend. As we know, DXY is also heading towards possible support around this zone here. So I think everything's clear and obvious. Let's go down to the 1 hour. So 1 hour clear leg here, sweep of buy side liquidity internally, broke down to make a new lower low, premium, discount, sell side liquidity from those old lows here with this X. Price is pulling back and it's fairly corrective. Obviously this is overnight price action, so I expect it to be mostly corrective, but this zone here is what I'll be looking out for. We have 1 hour order block behind here, we have an imbalance here, right, as well on the 1 hour, so we could possibly pull back deeper into this 4-hour POI here, right, especially this 1 hour imbalance into the order block as well. So this would be a nice area to see as a resistance at some point today, right, after we come and maybe find support or sell side liquidity on DXY as well would be great. This area here looks a bit sus as a trend line, but we'll see what happens with this zone, or even after just mitigating this imbalance, and if we switch structure to go bullish again, coming for this buy side liquidity trend line, right? This trend line here looks very nice. I'm sure it'll look good on the M15 as well. So that's what I see. We have a nice bearish leg. Obviously, with US dollar looking bullish, this has bearish structure, so I'm leaning towards a bearish bias. So let's go down to the M15. So here on the M15, the zones of resistance aren't as clear, right? I don't have a very clear POI and sweep except for right up at the top here. So I've drawn in the 1 hour imbalance area, which I know has this order block behind it on the 1 hour. So that's the sort of area I would look for where I could see price turning on itself. So right now we're having our corrective internal pullback here. I do expect that to continue. Price may come down to all of this, right, up into this zone, 1 hour imbalance, fill that, okay, and then we may get that breakdown, and then we pull back to our internal POI order block with imbalance on the M15, say. So we've seen that switch of structure here, that break of structure there, to continue on our way, mitigating the sell side liquidity below these lows here. Buy side liquidity internally possibly mitigated above this high into this 1 hour imbalance, for example, while we're also in that 4 hour order block. Then we get our break of structure, order block of imbalance up here, and possible again corrective pullback to mitigate that liquidity before we set our order to go towards the downside. Again, possible weak low if we respect this zone here. So as you'll see along these USD pairs, everything I've said is similar. The strategy is what it is here, right? Looking for zones, right, where price may respect, continue its trend and order flow, and we're waiting for that breakdown to confirm that for us. AU and NU look very similar, right, because they're very positively correlated. So it'll be the same as this on NU, so I won't waste your time showing you that. So I hope you gained value from that. I hope it was clear. Any questions, let me know in the comments. Remember to like and subscribe, and I'll see you guys soon.